As it's February, I thought we would talk about love. So I'm going to do a few videos, and this one is going to be about fruitless dating, because love and connection is a big emotional need, and it can really drive us to meet that need, and that can be met in either a healthy way or an unhealthy way. And certainly in my work as a therapist, relationships comes up quite a lot. Often that we can have unconscious patterns laid down from childhood, from primary caregivers, that are not serving us in the present day. Now, certainly in my friendship groups, I have friends who go out and are full of expectations on a date and come back and are left feeling jaded. And these next 5 tips, I hope, are going to leave you somewhat more invigorated. Number 1, set your intention. If you're out on a date loaded with expectation and project a fantasy of how you would like things to be onto the other person, often we can leave the date disappointed. And it's about minimizing it down, really, as you're just meeting another human being for a cup of coffee or a drink, and keep the date quite short. Set your intention of how you would like to show up on that date. And maybe rather than thinking about what you can get, what could you give? And I don't mean in a people-pleasing way, but just from the perspective of meeting another human being and being interested to know how they are. Not a checklist, but just keeping the expectations fairly low, but open to just exploring who this person is, what makes them tick, what are their values, how do they operate in the world, what makes them tick, what moves them. And this can really help you start to generate the feelings you would like to have on the date and take some control rather than waiting for the other person to step up. Number 2, review your dating rules. Now, it's great to have high standards, don't get me wrong, but if you have very rigid rules of how someone needs to behave in order for you to have a good time, and you go in full of high expectations, it can leave us feeling somewhat disappointed. So look at your rules. Are there things that maybe you need to become a little bit more flexible around in order to stay in the present moment and just be open to exploring what might unfold? Number 3, focus outwards. Now, it's very easy to get caught up in our own internal dialogue. Have you ever done that? Or maybe if you're a bit anxious about going out on a date and you start worrying about, well, what does the person think I look like? How do I sound? And it becomes a very inwardly focused experience. We start to focus outwards and focus on things about that person that you might find attractive. Is it the tone of their voice? Is it a story that might be interesting? Look for the positive signs, and all the time we're focusing outwards. We're not worrying so much about what's going on in our internal dialogue and how we might appear. And that can really help set up a more positive outcome. Number 4, practice kindness. It's very easy to get wrapped up in ourselves if we're going out on a date, either feeling irritated, jaded, or maybe judgmental, or slightly anxious, nervous, any of those emotions. But focusing on what the other person might be feeling and being truly present to that can add more of a human element to it. And certainly in my work I've done with men, they struggle with as many issues around this stuff as women do. They just display it differently. Step 5, stay fantasy free. Now, it's really common to love the feeling of getting swept up in the first waves of euphoria of love. However, when we start projecting a fantasy of how we would like things to be on the other person, it can cloud things. And I did a post recently, and in it I wrote, love will be a thoughtful, considered decision, not a feeling by which I'm overwhelmed. Because when we can slow down to be very considered about our approach and emotionally regulate, we can truly see who the person is and whether we want to invest our time with them, whether our values are aligned, because while things in common will draw people together, it's our values that will keep us together. And staying fantasy free really allows something to unfold in a natural way, but a much deeper and enriching way. Anyway, I hope those are of help in some way, and look out for more makeup and therapeutic tips. And if you want to join the I'm Back group with me and Marie Claire beauty director Lisa Oxenham, where we cover a lot of these topics, then you can find the link in my profile. And I'm wishing you a lovely week.